Welcome YouTube to Easy Maths Guide. In this video I'm going to be teaching you how to find the minimum and maximum points of a curve. So for example, if you have a curve with the equation y equals 20x minus x squared minus 2x cubed. This question comes from the June 2017 paper, and it tells us that there is a stationary point at M where x equals -2. So, before we go on to this question, let's just have a little look at graphs and differentiation, and the first order differential and the second order differential. So you have a parabola. Now, if we differentiate this, what this does is it basically tells us the rate of change of x. So we can represent this visually in a graph. So this is y equals x squared and dy by dx. So that equals 2x, and this would 2x would look something like this. Okay. So we'd have for every x we have two y values. Now, for the second order differential, d2y by dx squared, that's going to equal 2. So that graph will simply just be a line at 2. So basically this graph says how the gradient changes on y equals x squared. So as we can see, the gradient decreases, so we have a negative gradient, and the gradient gets less and less, so it approaches 0, which we can see here, and as we go past 0 our gradient then increases quickly again. So we can see that it starts off very small, but the gradient increases more and more rapidly. So this graph is showing the rate of change of y equals x squared, and the second order differential graph of d2y by dx squared, this shows the rate of change of the dy by dx graph. So it basically says that the gradient for this line is 2. Okay, so even when it's here, the gradient is 2 all the way through. So that's positive. Now, this quadratic graph, we know it's y equals x squared. So we know this, the turning point is a minimum turning point, and it's at point x equals 0. So so at x equals 0, minimum point, because it's at the bottom of the curve. Now, we know that's a minimum point. So this part of the graph says we're approaching a level point, and then we're going on the other side of it. So we know that d2y by dx squared equals 2, and that's positive 2, so this is a positive value. So we know that a positive second order differential value means that the stationary point is minimum. But why is this the case? Well, it's because if you're at a if you've got a minimum point, it means you've come from a negative gradient and you're going into a positive gradient. So this is shown by the dy by dx graph. You're in a negative gradient, you're in a negative area, and it goes to positive. So if you're going from a negative gradient to a positive gradient, it means that the gradient would be positive of the dy by dx graph, right? Because it goes up from the negative through to the positive. Now, if it was the other way around, if you had y equals negative, be careful here, because you can kind of put it in brackets, but if you had y equals negative x squared, you would have a curve that is like this, and therefore dy by dx would equal negative 2x. So you would have this, d2y by dx squared would become negative 2. And the reason for that is because we're going from a positive gradient into a negative gradient. So you can see how the dy by dx graph changes. It goes to a negative gradient throughout. And therefore, our graph shows that this is a constant negative gradient. Basic understanding of how differentials work. Now let's just get rid of that. Okay, back to the question. So first let's do the first thing we do is do dy by dx. So we have 20 times 1 x to the power of 0, which we can say is 1, minus 2x to the power of 1, which is just x, and minus 6x squared. Now let's do the second order differential, d2y by dx squared. So we do the same thing again. So we have 20, this is 20x to the power of 0. So this part here is simply going to disappear. We have x to the power of 1 times negative 2, which is negative 2. And that becomes x to the power of 0, but that's 1. And we minus 12x. So we've got the equation for our second order differential of the line equation of the curve, and we know that x equals negative 2 is a stationary point, but we don't know whether it's a minimum or a maximum point. So to do this, we simply plug in the value into our d2y by dx squared. So let's do that. So it equals negative 2 minus 12 lots of negative 2. So it equals negative 2 plus 24, and this equals positive 22. So we know from the previous graphs that if we have a positive d2y by dx squared, it means that the point is a minimum, which you can say, therefore we can use 3 dots. Point at x equals negative 2 is a minimum since 22 is greater than 0, and it's very important that you state that it's the value is either greater or less than 0. So that's how you find the nature of a stationary point, whether it's a minimum or maximum. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to put some links in the description of some great books that you can buy from Amazon, which are really going to help you with your grades, and also some great calculators which will help you with your understanding, especially when it comes to graphical maths. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.